Yeah, we're
Hello,
live, guys.
everybody.
Hello.
Welcome back to Bloodlines. I'm your host, Connor, and it's Christmas.
What a time to start.
First off, this jerk Rob, we get off the other thing. He's like, I'm going to get my Christmas shirt on. I'll be right back. And he leaves and he comes back wearing the same exact thing. And I go and find like this elf outfit. I'm like, all right, I'll get all festive. And he comes back wearing the same exact shirt.
Well, it's Christmas.
Rob, it's Christmas Day. My kids just opened their presents.
My non-existent kids just opened their presents. It's great.
Wonderful. Well, very happy to have all of you here. I have Anthony from Avoiding Babylon and Rob from Avoiding Babylon. And for the first time, Nick Cavazos from the Traditional Thomist. How you doing, everybody?
I don't know if this is going
Doing
to
good.
work, guys.
Anthony's having problems.
Anthony always has problems.
Anthony is a
I
problem.
can't do it.
Is Anthony the real problem?
You know what's funny? Now that he took that level off from behind him, his camera's crooked.
So it had a purpose?
It had a purpose.
Well-
I can't believe. No, listen. All right. So for anybody not understanding the joke, for the past like 3 episodes that we've done, this level has been in the background. Now, every time I watched the replay to like cut up clips and stuff, I saw it in the background. I'm like, I gotta remember to get rid of that stupid level, and I always forget. And then somebody in our comments goes, Anthony, what's the level for? Is that symbolic or something? I'm like, holy cow, I finally remembered to get rid of the level.
It was symbolic of having a correct camera set up, apparently.
Yeah. So, Rob, what was Maddie's favorite gift this morning?
We did get him a cotton candy machine.
Oh, you just blew it for him. Poor kid. Hope he's
Aw.
not watching. Oh, look at her.
She just learned how to say dad.
Wow.
Oh, so great before mama.
No, mama was first.
Oh, okay. You got seconds. So people just talk about Santa Claus a lot, and I want to know what you guys what position you take. Are you pro Santa Claus or anti Santa Claus? Nick, let's start with you.
I honestly I lean more toward anti-Santa Claus than pro, because on the one hand, while I don't think it's bad to have certain festive symbols or things like that, I made a show actually with Angela not too long ago called The Insanity of Atheist Christmas, which we basically go over the subject of why on earth do atheists or secularists, or as the saints call them, the worldlings, practice Christmas, which is a Catholic holiday, if they don't actually accept the risen Christ. They can say things like, we celebrate it because of family or food or, friendship or whatever, fill in the blank, right? Giving gifts even. But ultimately, you can do that whenever, right? This is a Catholic holiday commemorating the birthday of our Lord. And so therefore, when you take that and extrapolate to the understanding of Santa, I think what Santa does, unfortunately, is it is the subconscious symbol of, in many ways, a false God that most Americans will create. So they view their image of God through the lens of Santa. And ultimately, I think in the minds of children, they're disappointed when they find out that Santa doesn't exist. And so it calls into question other supernatural things. So, when you look at the person of Santa, he sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. He knows if you're bad or good. The term Kris Kringle literally means like another Christ, or even a replacement of Christ, substitute of Christ. And so they make him a very Christ-like figure. And I don't think that there's a problem in teaching children those qualities. I think that the actual Saint Nicholas is way more of a Chad than the Coca-Cola version. But yeah, I think that in the long run, it's more harm than good. I think it dilutes it and moves it away from the spirit of the actual season, which is penitential and celebrating that light has come and dispelled the darkness of sin. Because Christ is an absolute Chad. I don't need anybody else.
I love that I finally have something I disagree with Nick Cavazos on.
See, I'm on Nick's side.
I know you are, because you guys are both Debbie Downers. You don't like anything fun. You guys are so serious about everything.
I'm on a perpetual fun fast, as I've been told.
Exactly.
You say as you giggle and laugh at everything you say. You're like the most joyful person I've ever known.
Christmas isn't penitential though. That I mean,
Christmas isn't, but it's like the leading up to, at least in secular culture, everyone's already saying, Merry Christmas, or, if you're lucky, they'll say Merry Christmas. They want to take Christ out of the spirit of Christmas and just make it this innocuous holiday that celebrates nothing. And so Christ is an absolute beast because he comes, destroys the darkness of sin, completely overthrows the seat of Satan. And that is what we should be celebrating. That is amazing. And to me, I'm just like, what more could you celebrate? I don't need Coca-Cola to help add on top, unless it's in a small way where you kind of give a nod to some like good qualities of virtue of, giving gifts. But to make it a massive staple of the season, I think it's.
So Rob,
I do agree that Mrs. Claus needs to go away. Mrs. Claus needs to be canceled.
I just love that Connor is as much of a misogynist as I am. Like, I just freaking love it. Like,
I think what he's saying is that Saint Nick was celibate.
Yeah, that's true
what I'm
but,
saying.
But any chance Connor gets to, like, any chance he gets, he takes a little jab, and I love it. But Rob, so you're not going to practice Santa at all with your kids?
I've already told them that Santa doesn't exist.
Okay. So I grew up in a house where that was how we were taught. Like my mom thought very similar to the way you guys did, where she didn't want to tell us about Santa and then have us question other things, right? So like all of a sudden you find out Santa's not real, your whole reality's crushed, and it's like, what else was I lied to about?
Well, I mean, for me, I do not ever remember believing in Santa. As a matter of fact, because my parents tried to, pull one over on me in a sense. Like as a kid, I remember feeling like disrespected by them. It's like, you really think I'm stupid enough to not like see everything that's actually going on? Like how we go to bed and you guys stay up in the bedroom, door closed, lights on, all the UPC codes on the presents are blacked out with a permanent marker. I don't even know why you guys do that, but whatever. Like it just
if
it
you're
felt
remembering that's a later memory though. That like you
no,
up that stuff at 6.
I really remember that at like 3 and 4 years old.
I was a huge believer in Santa. My parents kind of like, and again, for the record, I'm not bashing anybody who takes a different position than me. If you
I'm going to play the devil's advocate in this. So it's okay. Yeah. Like, look, this is one of those things. This is one of those things where you can have a disagreement on it. It's like, it's not like you're judging the other person.
I mean, unlike putting up the tree before Christmas, this one you can have a little leeway.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not like if you teach your kids Santa, it's like you're co-sleeping with them or anything. It's
Touche.
Wow. Okay.
So,
obviously Anthony and I are taking the pro position, though I'm open to being convinced. I like Taylor Marshall's sort of perspective of sort of connecting Santa with Saint Nick and sort of just adding it into the sort of the stories, like adding it into the mythos. I also did, I believed for a long time, and I'm afraid to say that I think I still believed in high school, and it was broken to me, and I was very disappointed. I was very unhappy, and I think one of the problems with that is there wasn't this sort of saying, yes, Santa Claus, like this guy doesn't come and give you presents, but he is a symbol of the love of Saint Nicholas, the charity of Saint Nicholas. See, like if it was sort of explained to me that way, I don't think I would have been upset in any capacity. So I don't think it's necessarily damaging to a kid's belief if it's just sort of explained simply, and then you later, as a child grows in age, you add complexity to it, and then they really understand that this is sort of just as Jesus isn't being truly like born again every Christmas. We celebrate his celebration, but we're Celebrating Saint Nicholas's charity in kind of a similar way.
Yeah, because I want to actually ask Anthony this, because I'm kind of curious. Do you think that maybe the more prudential route is not maybe say telling children that Santa exists, but in incorporating, kind of like you said, Connor, from Marshall's perspective, the idea that even the modern image of Saint Nicholas is a good representation of the charity that we ought to have toward the poor and to our fellow neighbor? Like, do you think that that would be better than telling them that, like, there's this guy who exists on the North Pole and he comes on once a year and gives you stuff?
So, okay, so my son, it started with my son. Now, my son from around 5 years old was already like kind of questioning things. So my rule was I will never lie to them if they ask me. Right? Like that, it was just straight out like I will never lie to my kids if they come out and say, is Santa real? So I always I will never lie to my kids. So my son knew when he was 5 years old. Now, when I was a kid, we never believed in Santa, and we would go to midnight mass, and then after mass we would come home and my parents would let us open our presents at midnight.
That's cool.
And you think it's cool, but it's not, because you lose out on the excitement of Christmas morning.
Fair.
So
Yeah.
there's something exciting about going to bed as a kid, and so they would always make us save a few presents for the morning, but we would lose a lot of the excitement the night before. We'd be going to bed at 3 a.m. So with my kids, I said, if once they ask, I will never lie to them. Right now, the danger comes in with in Connor's case, where he was almost in high school and he still believes, because you start getting into an age where you hope your kids' friends break it to them, because you don't want to devastate your child, because you don't want them going into high school still believing in Santa, and then they're totally let down like that. But there's something so beautiful and magical about a kid having a sense of wonder about even those stupid elves, right? Like, we would hide the elves around the house and the kids would think the elf moved that night. There's something.
Oh, you guys did the whole elf on a shelf thing too.
But you don't understand the elf on the shelf. The elf on the shelf thing
totally
is so bad
that
these days, because I live on Long Island and there's a lot of wealthy parents, and a lot of these wealthy parents, the elves bring gifts to the kids. So my kids will be like, well, this elf brought them a gift last night and I didn't get anything. And it's like, all right, listen, we're breaking the elf thing right now. Okay. So the elf thing lasted very shortly. Well, it was a very short-lived experiment we did.
I don't know if it's connected, but the elf on the shelf thing just makes me think of Guy Fawkes.
Yeah.
Like, because there's they have a guy, they make a guy and then they burn him, and they put him all over the place, and he'll move. They'll move him to different places and stuff like that, and it's basically comes from burning Catholics.
Yeah. I wouldn't feel bad, Connor. Now that I'm remembering, I think I was 12 when my parents broke it to me. And I remember,
yeah, that's a danger, letting your kids get that old.
My parents, like, I mean, to their credit, I absolutely love my parents. They're awesome. But they would
heathens that they are.
The heathens that they are.
I love them.
The Protestant that they are, yeah. They would kind of go over in the top. So like we lived at the time when I was a little kid on a 2-story house, and so we slept upstairs, and so they would go outside. They'd like rush us back to the house. They're like, okay, Santa's coming. You got to go to bed early. And then they would go outside and they would ring little jingle bells. And they would like,
you think Santa's out there?
Yeah. And so then they would go to like the room next door, and then they would like hit the walls that sounded like feet. And when you're 6, like, it doesn't matter if it's coming from over here. You're just like, oh my goodness, I hear stuff.
Isn't that exciting?
It was, but see, this is the thing. Like, I grew up, and then, all my friends already stopped believing in Santa Claus, but then I was the one kid who they were all at least nice to and believed in Santa.
I was an a-hole to my friends.
I just wouldn't have I wasn't thinking about it very often, so it's not like it came up in conversations or anything. Well,
let's put it this way:
when my son
because my son came straight out and asked me when he was 5. He's like, Dad, is Santa real? Like, a guy comes down our chimney. I was like, no, Nick, like, Santa's not real. So then we kind of brought him in to help. Like then we made him part of the secret. So it was like he would help us hide, bring out the presents after we would get, at night, and he felt like he was kind of in on something secret. So it was kind of cool. But I do think there's something. But I also always did relate the story of Santa to actual Saint Nick. Like it was always Saint Nicholas, and I told them the origin story of Saint Nicholas. The first Christmas, what he did was he went, and so we still celebrate Saint Nicholas Day in my house, and my kids get slippers every Saint Nicholas Day ever since they're little. Like it's always been a thing that we did with them. So I'm not. I think every family can choose whatever tradition they want. I totally understand your point of view where you handle it the way you do, but I don't think there's a problem if parents teach their kids about Santa.
Rob, or do you do St. Nicholas Day? Like, or do you do the slippers and the St. Nicholas brings candy or something?
We haven't yet, but we plan to. Yeah.
Okay, but but St. Nicholas isn't bringing them stuff, right?
Right, of course.
So, like, is there something deceptive about that, or no? What do you think about that?
No, because we just tell them that we're putting the candy in their shoes in remembrance of St. Nicholas.
I feel like
okay. So you're going to tell them that St. Nicholas didn't do it.
Well, right, because they know that St. Nicholas, and by definition, all saints are dead already. So
dead and alive, right?
Right, but not in a physical sense.
Sure. No, I that's what I'm saying. I'm just so.
I just think it would cause too much confusion to try to teach them the realities of the faith, and yet tell them that St. Nicholas is putting something in their shoes.
Well, that's why that's why it makes sense with sort of the Christmas presents and stuff like that. If you do keep,
are you going to let your kids go on rides at the carnival, Rob?
What do you mean? Well, it depends on the
carnival. I mean, have any fun? I'm just wondering.
Come on, how many videos? Well, how many snuff videos have you seen of people dying on those rides at carnivals?
You're right, actually.
Fair point.
You've probably almost wanted to play a few on our show.
Rob likes to have fun with you, Anthony. He, he convinced you to dress up. But
he tricked me. He didn't convince me. He tricked me.
I feel like
I couldn't believe it. I was looking for a Santa hat and I found a whole freaking elf outfit. I was like, I'm coming in decked out. Let's go.
Well, put on the hat. Put on the hat.
It's not really a hat. It's like an entire onesie. It's a onesie. It's got legs and everything, man. Like this is, so I just wore the
upper kind of Christmas fun do you get up to?
I bet Chucho Fernandez wears his that.
I think my son bought this and he wore it to school.
Well, I'm not surprised. Anthony is big on Halloween too.
Well, my wife is an artist and my wife loves making costumes, and she just has always had like a passion for like makeup and things like that. So we like Halloween was a tricky one because there is very dangerous aspects to Halloween. Mm-hmm. So you have to be very cautious in how you celebrate Halloween. So it really is a very catechetical moment to teach your kids what the proper celebration of Halloween is. So a lot of Catholics are like, no, Halloween, no. Where I really try to bring the idea of what carnival is and what they used it for in the Middle Ages and what the symbolism is of your jack-o'-lanterns outside your house. Is similar to
I would argue that a celebration of Halloween, at least as long as you leave out all the intrinsically like evil stuff, right?
Yeah.
The celebration of Halloween is at least as Catholic, if not more so, than the idea of like Santa Claus and how we practice that today. So I have no problem with Halloween.
Well, yeah, no, it makes sense. But it seems like all holidays these days are sort of falling into this situation where you basically have to divide, or you have to separate the secular holiday from
we mentioned this the other day on the meaning of Catholic. I think that it's a pre-recorded episode, so it should be coming out, I think, Tuesday or something. But I guess the day after this comes out or something like that.
So
do you mean tomorrow, Nick?
Tomorrow, my bad.
Tomorrow, Nicholas.
I'm off my meds. Yeah, like if you look at all the major holidays.
Careful, Lofton's going to use that against you.
Oh, 100%. I'm just not good enough, I think. Not big enough to be on his radar yet. But like you look at all the holidays, they're all co-opted by the secular world in some way. But notice how it's like there's a certain major sin attached to a lot of the holidays. As an example, St. Valentine's Day, fornication, adultery, the passions unleashed. St. Patrick's Day, gluttony and drunkenness. You look at Christmas time, right? Avarice and covetousness, just materialism unleashed. Halloween, right? With a lot of witchcraft and Satanism mixed in the context of the secular culture, of course. I could go on. And
4th of July, Americanism. I mean, what?
Yeah, you could go there.
We got to make 4th of July Catholic again, guys. That's the thing.
Well, we just need to have
Hanukkah, Zionism.
We just need to have our first king, if
we need
one day to have his birthday on the 4th of July, and then that will just replace it, because we celebrate the 4th of July the same way, or we celebrated the king's birthday.
Yeah, we should just have the next Carlist revolution in America this time. It'd be pretty epic, pretty based.
If this was our show, I'd have to kick you off just for safety's sake.
But yeah, no, it's so interesting. But like, what do you guys do to continue the spirit of Christmas just past today?
We actually only give a few gifts on Christmas Day. Usually like the biggest gift, definitely for sure, because we do want Christmas Day to be extra special, but then we have other gifts that we continue to give, and it's helpful. No, the 12 days of Christmas.
you do Hanukkah Christmas with your kids.
Plus, it's helpful when you live in the middle of nowhere. Amazon tends to miss Christmas anyways, so then you're getting presents after Christmas regardless.
Well, it's also your kids are so little still, so I think especially because your Philomena is a baby still, so I think you'll see as they get a little bit older, you're going to develop traditions of your own that you don't have yet, right? Because they're so little still that it's like the little ones don't even know what is going on Christmas yet.
Well, that and
Maddie's finally starting to appreciate it, but
it's been a few, like the last few years has been just a little weird because sometimes we've been at home, sometimes we've been visiting family. So like this year we're going to be visiting family, so we can't pack all of the presents in the car to have Christmas morning in the hotel. So they're not getting any presents.
So you won't even be home for Christmas?
No, which it kind of sucks, but
home for Christmas.
So you're staying in a hotel Christmas Eve?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Well, because we want to go down to visit my family and see my grandma who's 93 or something.
He won't be where he is right now today.
Oh, I forgot all about that.
You're off your meds.
I think the gang is ruined at this point.
Yeah, but Maddie's actually super excited because the last time we were in the cities at the beginning of December, the Twin Cities, St. Paul, Minneapolis, we went to the big cathedral, and Maddie loved it. Throughout all of Mass, we were just walking around to the different side altars, and he was just taking it all in. And they had the big pipe organ and a professional choir, and he just loved it. So he specifically asked us if we could go there for midnight Mass for Christmas. So
do they have an actual midnight Mass at the cathedral? Okay, because a lot of churches do not have midnight masses.
We drive into Manhattan for midnight Mass. My kids actually like it because, like you said, they have like the professional choir, like they'll have like a professional symphony come in. Yeah. And I mean, the only other time I've ever experienced anything like it is it is a production, this liturgy. This liturgy is awe-inspiring. You just are floored by it. From the beginning of when they process the infant into the manger.
Your Lutheran in-laws last year, right?
No, I took them to Easter Vigil.
Wow, okay.
So and that was like they were blown away by that, but that's a 3-hour ordeal where midnight Mass is at least an hour and a half. But it's just such a beautiful production with the symphony or the orchestra, whatever it is that they get together, and it's such a beautiful thing that I remember as a kid going to the Novus Ordo midnight Mass, and I'd be falling asleep, where my kids are wide awake for it. It's just beautiful, And then they
Yeah.
sleep on the way home, and I let them open one present each now because none of them believe in Santa anymore. And I kind of miss them believing in Santa.
I do love going to midnight mass. I've gone the last two straight years. So this is my third straight year going to midnight mass, and it's just so beautiful. And also just sort of recognizing that everything begins there. It's so important. This is why and this year is so bad with like sort of the anticipatory masses. Like it messes with like everybody's schedule, and it confuses so many people. This is literally like one of the worst years for confusing people.
Yeah.
I have a feeling there are going to be a lot of people who just go once.
Who just go on Sunday on Christmas Eve and think that covers them for the Christmas
for
mass.
both. Yeah.
Or who just go Monday and then don't go Sunday.
Don't go Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's going to be weird.
We're going to go. Like we have an hour drive to go to mass on Sunday morning at 11:30 a.m. Then coming home, doing our thing on Christmas Eve, going to my mom's, and then driving back into the city at midnight mass. There's a lot of driving, going to mass twice in one day.
Indeed.
Yeah. It's interesting because it's like I'm a convert, and so one of the first things I thought was actually weird when I converted was people saying Merry Christmas after Christmas Day, because again, I was not taught Christmas was a season growing up. I thought Christmas was basically starting from right after Thanksgiving and went till Christmas Day, and then you take the tree down the 26th and it's over. So there was no concept of Advent or anything like that. So having people say Merry Christmas post was interesting. But I'm still in the stage of kind of like developing all my own traditions, because it's like
Nick, what's it been like adapting to Catholic culture? How many years have you been Catholic now?
Almost 5, almost coming on 5.
Oh, so you're in here a minute now. That's so like
like he's lived through half of Francis. I mean, he's a veteran at this point.
Yeah, but even like Francis aside, you think about like there's a very Catholic culture. Like he's saying, like so we argued about the Advent decorations and Christmas decorations and stuff, but we very intentionally leave the Christmas decorations up until
February 2nd.
February 2nd, but my wife gets annoyed by it, but I'm like, no, those Christmas lights are staying up until February 2nd, but there's something to the Catholic culture of it, and just even learning these little weird oddities that Catholics do that Protestants don't do. Like somebody said the other day, it was one of those Protestants saying that Christmas is a pagan holiday, and I'm like, I agree with you. Protestants should not be allowed to celebrate Christmas. This is cultural appropriation. Go make up your own holidays.
If you don't go to Christ Mass on Christmas, you don't get celebrate.
Shouldn't be allowed to celebrate it.
Calvin Robinson was basically like, this is why we got rid of the Puritans. We sent them over to America.
Yeah,
which I thought was hilarious. I mean, that is kind of the thing, is Puritans were such a problem in England that that
they started a civil war.
They were like, you can't teach your kids about Santa.
They killed Pentecost.
Puritans.
they killed.
You can't tell your kids Saint Nick put the candy in the slipper. Freaking Puritans. You got to get rid of them.
They killed the secular celebration of Pentecost.
You know what's so interesting though?
Well, Paul VI killed the liturgical one, so
yeah.
Paul VI killed everything indeed. To your question,
what was the secular celebration of Pentecost like? What are they?
I don't know. It's been so long.
Yeah, we don't have one.
Celebrated Pentecost.
Yeah, I was like, what is that? I don't think I've ever heard of that. Secular celebration of Pentecost.
Well, like what I mean is like does
the Holy Spirit come down and leave gifts under the tree?
Sorry. When I mean secular, I don't mean like atheists or or like I what I mean is the classical sense of like the state or the people, not the clergy,
the public,
the public. So the old like secular priests are diocesan.
Right. You mean secular in the classical sense.
Okay, I see.
So the secular celebration and regarding like all laity specifically really died when Puritans banned Pentecost.
Well, maybe it's because people are going around lighting people's heads on fire. I'd ban that.
What?
Wait, were they
Pentecost?
doing that?
No, that was a bad joke. I'm sorry, guys.
Oh, because tongues of fire.
Tongues of fire on their head.
I got you. All right.
Yeah,
I thought that was like an actual thing.
You got
people were
Holy
doing.
Spirited.
I thought people were actually doing this. I'm like, wait a minute, what?
I thought that was some heresy somewhere.
Guys, I'm on a lot of NyQuil right now. Okay, I'm sorry.
You're on NyQuil? No wonder you're falling
No,
asleep.
dude, it sounded like you were because you know like these weird tidbits about history. So I'm like, wait a minute, what? I'm about to get a history lesson from Rob.
I should.
English Catholics lighting each other on fire.
I'd get a text next Pentecost, dude. I just lit someone's hair on fire, and you.
Thank you so much for teaching me this.
This is the best celebration ever.
I don't know.
Anthony,
you ever
you
see that
better
video
call
of the
Mark.
guys? The one guy lights his hair on fire and he leans his head against the
Yeah,
next guy and
yeah.
his hair goes on fire.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what they were doing there.
Well,
let's
it's all
hope
the
people
gel
don't
you
do
Italians
that.
use. It probably would.
Oh, my
work.
head would go up like.
But like, Chris, you were banned from going to church on Christmas by the Puritans, and I believe same with like Easter and Pentecost and stuff like that. So,
which is so weird because it's like most people don't know. Again, I was a pretty hardcore Calvinist, so I read the Puritans like crazy. They were actually like pretty liberal on other issues like divorce. So like women could divorce their husbands for not any reason, but yet they also banned Christmas.
well, you know, it almost sounds a little like Judaizers.
Or like Francis banning certain kinds of masses, but yet letting.
No, I think that's an anti-Catholic thing, right?
Yeah.
So Catholics were so adamant about marriage, so it's like, well, you know what, divorce is fine. Catholics are so adamant about going to mass. Well, no, you can't go to church on Christmas. Like, I think it's a very anti-Catholic sentiment.
But it's not just that. In the English context, it would just be, you know, I guess it would be associated with papists, but not. But there was a whole segment of the population who, in of themselves, were anti-Catholic, but
weren't Puritans,
weren't Puritans. So, if anything, it was more of a cultural thing of we don't like the people that celebrate Christmas. Like it was a
but you got to realize
they're not good enough.
Anglicans even maintained a lot of Catholicism. It's not like Anglicanism is more.
Well, that's why they shipped the Puritans away for the most.
So that's what I'm saying. So they associated even the Anglican stuff with Catholicism, I would think, right?
Yeah,
so
they did.
You get once you get the Presbyterianism, like you'll have non-liturgical Protestantism, but like when you get high church Lutherans or high church Anglicans, like that stuff looks pretty Catholic still.
Yeah,
they
liturgically maintain Catholic rites more than arguably the Novus Ordo does in many ways. But doctrinally, like the early Anglicans, you know, you go read 39 articles of the Church of England, the Westminster Confession of Faith, crafted by a lot of Puritans before they all got kind of kicked out. But you know, highly Calvinistic. But yeah, no, they were attacking Catholics for everything. There's whole books dedicated in Puritan libraries on why, quote, communion kneeling and on the tongue is papist superstition. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah,
sounds rigid.
No, because the council is the Reformation in the church. I mean, it's
revolution in the church.
It is that, right? It is not the Reformation; it's the revolution in the church. It's
like quite a few council fathers would even agree with you.
No,
I
Rob,
did not see this going this way for Christmas.
Well, when you read the stripping of the altars, it is. You feel like you're reading about the council, like you really like the liturgical reforms after the council. It's crazy.
I read the I have only read parts of stripping of the altars because I'm more of a political guy. So I read the Queen Mary, I think, like and the Catholic Church. I can't remember what. But anyways, that also like politically, it also shows all of that as well. Like just, and that's one of the things about the author. I can't remember what his name. The book's right there.
Not Eamon Duffy, right?
Yeah, Eamon Duffy.
Yeah.
Eamon Duffy really sees a lot of this sort of going on, and you know he's writing for a not really specifically Catholic audience necessarily, but it's almost like he's kind of winking at you, because he's writing sort of a purely academic work. But he's sort of winking at you and being like, like this is like this happened, like this happened in the 60s and 70s, and it's a continuous battle, whether it be from without the church and within the church.
Yeah, I think it starts with banning your children from believing in Santa, and it ends with stripping of the altars and communion
Anthony,
in the hand.
do you have any traditions like past Christmas Day?
So usually, especially in those 12 days like of Christmas, we always try to do like a bunch of special things as a family each night, especially while the kids are home. So, but that typically would be us going somewhere. So like we would go to there's a like a town in upstate New York where it's like a Christmas town. It's like a Christmasville. Like we would do things with the kids, but this is the first year I'm not going away for that week where we normally would. So I'm gonna have to actually come up with some new home traditions in the house this year. It'll probably involve some kind of short readings, things like that, maybe watching certain movies, things like that, just ways to keep my kids at home the last few years. Like my son's 18 now, and I want to spend as much time with this kid as I can before he ventures off to go start his own life and stuff. So I'm gonna have to be creative this year since we're not going away.
Yeah, well, it'd be nice to know if there were like traditional not liturgical necessarily, though. I do wish Christmas had more liturgical traditions
For Christmas, yeah,
like
like
St.
Holy Week. You
Stephen's
got those
Day.
five days of liturgy to really
Yeah.
you have the Triduum, and then you have Easter Sunday.
You
all that
basically
stuff.
live at church for a couple days, but then Christmas is kind of much smaller, and you have St. Stephen's Day, but there's nothing really for St. Stephen's Day. St. John's Day, you can get wine blessed, the traditional wine
You get
blessing.
the blessing of the chalk, right?
Oh, is that
That's
St. John's
Epiphany.
Day too?
No, I know it's Epiphany,
sorry.
but that's within the Christmas
Epiphany.
octave.
Yeah, that's true. The Epiphany is big as well, which I think is hilarious that January 6th, just the whole like political stuff regarding that.
Funny, yeah.
Yeah,
So wait, St.
Epiphany,
Stephen's Day is the day after Christmas?
yes,
Yeah.
and that's good King Wenceslas.
He was killed by arrows, right?
No,
Killed
he
by
was
what?
No, he was stoned.
Was he stoned?
He
was
was
it
stoned.
Sebastian that was killed by arrows?
Yeah, Saint
Saint
Stephen
Stephen was stoned in the Book
and
of Acts.
Saint Paul looked
Witnessed
on
it.
in
Yeah,
approval.
you witnessed it. Rob, come on. I know you're Catholic, but you could read a little bit of scripture.
No, but Rod's just on drugs.
He's on NyQuil, yeah.
Exactly. NyQuil. Isn't it a drug?
Sorry.
Do you need NyQuil
Rob,
too?
I'm going to make so we're doing this movie thing with Father Dave Nix. There's a movie called Peter and Paul, and it has Anthony Hopkins plays St. Paul. That's going to be one of the movies we watch because it gives you a lot of biblical stuff, Rob, and you're gonna know your Book of Acts better.
As opposed to just reading the Book of Acts.
Yeah, I'd much rather just read.
I'm sure
And
you
I
would,
have
but
read it.
I'm going to force you to watch a young Anthony Hopkins. It's one of my favorite portrayals of him because there's so few good portrayals of St. Paul. Like I didn't really like the Jim Caviezel portrayal of him.
Why not just have Jim Caviezel didn't play St. Paul. No, he played Luke.
Oh, that's right. But it was about St. Paul. That's right.
Yeah.
But that movie, I wasn't crazy about that movie.
Faulkner, I think, is the one who.
I just thought the movie was boring. Like everybody tells me you got to make it to the end, and I fall asleep every time. I've tried watching it 3 times. I fall asleep every time.
I made it to the end, but I remember absolutely nothing about it. So it was obviously pretty boring.
I read the book.
It was
pretty cool.
I read the book.
The book was better.
Anyways,
the Book of Acts, the first time I read the Book of Acts, though, so I remember having like my early conversion around 30, I think, like 29, 30. I had like my first on fire experience for God, and I'm like really going through the Gospels and going through.
You mean when you were listening to all the Protestant radios?
I
radio
was at
stations?
first, yeah. Like that's really what I was doing. I was listening to, like Life is Worth Living, but it was the Protestant version, not the, not the Father Bishop Sheen one. Like there's a Protestant version of that called Life is Worth Living.
Really? With
Yeah.
who?
Those
man.
bastards.
I forget, but there was a Scottish guy that I was listening to.
It was a Scottish guy?
Not on that show, but there was a Scottish radio Protestant that I was listening to, and it actually caused me to go and seek out my Catholic faith because there was a anti-Catholic sermon that I heard by this Scottish preacher, and he was talking about how Jesus didn't come to Jesus came to abolish religion and all this stuff, and I was like, wait a minute. I'm like, what? And they were talking like all this anti-Catholic stuff, and I'm like,
wait,
that can't be right.
How is that just anti-Catholic? That just sounds anti-Christian.
It's
like
entirety.
You don't understand how naive I was when I first converted. First converted,
did he have
and
the accent?
I was like, why can't all Christians just get along? We all believe in Jesus. Like, I don't understand. Like, I had like an on fire experience with Jesus, and I'm like, I don't get all these divisions, man.
Man, you would have loved Jonathan Rumi Jesus at that point.
Oh, I would have been his biggest fan. You have no idea. I would have been all over The Chosen.
So back then, you needed to read about the 30 Years' War.
So it was. Right, I didn't know any of the. I didn't even know what the Reformation was. Like, you have no idea how naive I was.
It's okay. So the Protestants still don't know what the Reformation was.
Right. So I started looking up like why be Catholic and all this stuff, and I came across a black Protestant preacher who converted to Catholicism named Alex Jones. There was this black guy named Alex Jones who converted. And
okay, that's just really funny.
Yeah, it was just very.
Anthony starts Googling more of this preacher.
Alex
like, why is he talking about them turning the frogs gay? What does that have to do with the gospel?
Did he bleach his skin and all of a sudden become white?
Did this guy also say, why are you gay?
Why are you gay? So
he was black, not African.
This preacher, no, he was, yeah, exactly. This preacher was Protestant, and he brought his entire congregation into the Catholic Church.
I've heard that guy.
Like, he started preaching Catholicism he was learning it, studying the fathers, and preaching it to his congregation. And about 50% of his congregation followed him into the Catholic Church and became Catholic. So that was like the first thing I heard that was like genuine. It's like, wait a minute, you can't just be any Christian. You have to be Catholic. Then I find Scott Hahn. Then I go down the Lighthouse Catholic Media route. Then I discover Taylor Marshall.
Then you were radicalized. Really, Scott Hahn is. I like to think that Scott Hahn has always been radical. It's just he's just been working with what he's got at the moment.
He's just been like the professor, sweater wearer, really nice guy version.
I make the joke, but it's not a joke. I wasn't radicalized by Scott Hahn. I was radicalized by Kimberly Hahn, because Kimberly Hahn gave a talk one time, and she was talking about some of the tougher teachings of the church, and people were kind of like not receiving it well. And she just looked at the crowd and she goes, do we believe this stuff or do we believe this stuff? And I was just like, wait a minute. I'm not like, I was using artificial birth control, and
she brought Scott Hahn around on artificial birth control.
So that might've been the talk on that. She was like, do we believe this stuff or do we believe it? And it like changed. Like, it just, I was like, come on, I can't. Do I believe it or do I not? If I believe it, I have to start living it. And like, that really started my radicalization of becoming like I'm Catholic. Like, no more of this nonsense.
Do you believe in Santa or do you not?
Exactly. I got news for you. Santa is real.
Real gay.
The spirit of Santa is a real thing. You got to understand spirits, man. Like, the spirit of Saint Nick lives on through Santa, and it is a spirit
absolutely not.
Yeah, it is, man. No. There's different kinds of spirits out there.
And Santa is different from Saint Nick.
Well, it depends how you know. But what I mean is, yes, it's not the spirit of the Saint Nicholas, but the spirit of
I know Santa. You're not talking about the soul, but I'm saying 99% of the world treats Santa Claus entirely different.
Yeah, but even in the secular world, they will see Christmas time as a time of giving, a time of generosity. Like there is a
but not for the
spirit-
right reasons.
Maybe not, but it's still a time of like there's different spirits out there. Like you could give into the spirit of anger, you could give into the spirit of
Vatican
yeah, the spirit of Vatican II. But there is a spirit of Christmas where you are more kind and loving and joyful and things like that. And I think Santa kind of embodies that spirit.
I agree. I just think that Christ does better.
Oh,
Yeah.
of course.
Well, but like we do have Saint Nicholas in some, sort of leading the way.
I think,
Yeah, but Nick, you could say that about every saint. Christ does it better, can't you?
yeah,
Yeah,
but I
but
would
Santa
say
Claus isn't a saint. He's a
I'd
made up character.
Shut up,
Coca-Cola
Rob.
company.
I'm trying to.
Yeah, no,
always-
you could say that. I would say two things. One, like what makes the saints is Christ. So it's like he's gonna be the root, if you will. Two, this is what I'm interested in. I want your guys' opinion. So you guys were mentioning the Saint Nicholas custom of the shoes, right? Which again, I don't have a family that's Catholic, etc. So there's next to no real liturgical customs in our house. But maybe what I should do is, if we're gonna be in the spirit of the real Saint Nicholas, the Chad Saint Nicholas, maybe for Saint Nicholas's Day, people should like go up and give their children a doctrinal quiz on the hypothetical.
And you're just sitting there ready. You're like, you better get it right. You
I
better
thought
get it right.
I thought you were
Maybe
going
we
to say
should-
coal. You were going to give your parents coal.
I was gonna say maybe we
something.
should ask our audience for donations and leave a dowry for Nick to go give some broad's dad. Let's get this kid married.
Dude, let's do it.
Or
If he's not
and-
married by next St. Nick's Day,
Nick, we got a dowry for you to go give some.
Dude.
It really is supposed to go the other way around, though. The woman is supposed to give the woman's father should give you the dowry, but
Well, no,
I
if
guess-
we're talking about Saint Nicholas, he gave dowries to people.
so he would. So the real story of Saint Nick is there was a father who was destitute and he was going to have to like give his daughters away to prostitution or something, and he gave them money for a dowry so he could marry them off, so he wouldn't have to.
even better, we get to pick a female, a woman,
right
to give money to. So we get to pick Nick's wife.
All right, so we're gonna get into the Catholic pimping
what is
service, like
this?
some
Like-
friends of ours.
We find
For only $2.50 a piece, guys,
Yeah.
we can
we
find
find
Nick a
the
wife.
father. We find the father of Nick's future wife to provide the dowry to.
Connor, you need a wife too, bro. We're gonna have to get some dowries going here. We're gonna get you a wife too, bro.
you know.
You young Gen Zers, man. We gotta marry you boys off.
Yeah, I wish it was just that simple. Wish it
Yeah. I think Nick and I need to
have you
do,
seen how much Gen Z women want for a ring nowadays? It's going to take a lot of gifts and go for this.
I was
Yeah,
gonna
how
say
did
Nick and I need to do a show just on Gen Z
dating, but like, how did that tradition get swapped around like that? Where it used to be the girl's father would give a dowry to the husband to take his daughter on because he no longer has to pay for his daughter, to the man having to come up with what is essentially a dowry, like 3 months' salary to go and put.
Well, two reasons.
I mean,
Reason one, feminism. Reason two is the De Beers Diamond Company.
I thought you were going to somehow blame it on Santa Claus. I was really hoping you would find a way to blame Santa Claus.
I thought he was just going to be like people who don't practice co-sleeping. That was the second.
Yeah.
Well, it's also
Which are the people that freaking believe in Santa Claus.
I'm glad you guys could at
The only
least
reason-
joke about it now.
I just
would-
figured it out. He can't pretend Santa's coming. The kid's sleeping in bed with him.
It's like, no, I can't sneak out of bed. The kid's got his arm wrapped around my
The
neck.
kid's right next to him the whole time.
we figured out the real reason.
Oh, brother.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
no, feminism is the main reason because it's like, I mean,
I've never
And
thought
it-
about rings and feminism.
yeah, I mean, it's like, you're taught this and there's truth in this, right? That like the woman is the prize. And there's a truth in that, of course, because like matrimony is a massive gift. But the problem is that they're not going to look at that through the virtue, like through the lens of virtue. It's just gimme. And so it's like, if
Well,
any
here-
woman wants that,
Here, I thought the dad was always giving money just because the guy had to put up with her for the rest of his life.
Well, isn't
Listen,
it supposed to be security for
That's
the
a joke.
woman
That's a joke.
as well?
Matt Walsh got into it with Megyn Kelly today. because
somehow I knew this was gonna come up.
There was a video of a girl talking about she was a feminist and she went out with a guy who took her out and paid for her, and he was like a real alpha male, and she was like, I think I'm giving up feminism. So Matt Walsh just made like the general comment, like, okay, well, if you are looking for a traditional man, then you have to be willing to be a traditional woman, and you
Like,
need to be a
you got to give
stay-at-home
up.
mom, and you have to give some things up too. And Megyn Kelly went off on him, like, that is not what needs to happen. A woman can be sexy because she's out there getting her work game on, like all this stuff that she's saying. And Tim Gordon finds an article about Megyn Kelly's ex-husband saying, I wanted to be married to a wonderful wife. Unfortunately, Megyn wanted a wife also. So Megyn Kelly's over here saying how it's not about like a woman can be work and she can work and be fierce and all this stuff. And it's like, you couldn't keep your marriage together because your husband wanted a wife. He didn't want some working woman that was going to bring home the bacon. It's not natural.
Anthony's always going off on women.
No real man. No, Anthony's 100% right.
No, I'm kidding. I'm agreeing. I just want to.
Yeah, it's like he's 100% right because it's like no man wants a woman that's going to be a financial competitor.
No way.
Like in the same house, because like the man's job is to provide, the woman's job is to receive.
Well, yeah, you undercut the value of your man by doing this, and it's hilarious that she just inserted herself into that conversation.
Exactly what she did, because she took it as a personal insult.
Well, that's why it's hilarious that she did, because she basically outed herself.
Yeah. I mean, you were talking about the spirit of things. She's got a spirit.
Donald Trump was right. She's bleeding from all different.
Oh my gosh! I'm so glad this is not our show.
It's like I can't get banned for this show.
Gosh.
Listen, I'll
tell YouTube that you're connected. It's Avoiding Babylon is the show that you need to
take a strike to say my opinions on this.
No. We got to wait till the 7th.
Yeah. I had this conversation remember I had the fight with my in-laws over this?
Yes, I remember.
So I'm over at my in-laws going off on, you got no way any man that lives in a home where his wife makes more money than him, it's an unhappy marriage, it'll never last, it's unnatural, not knowing that my brother-in-law, his sister's there and she's the breadwinner and the husband stays home. And like the whole family was mad at me and I had no idea why. And I'm like, and they're like arguing with me. I'm like, how are you guys arguing with me? I'm looking at my wife, her sister, her other sister, and her mother. And I'm like, you're a stay-at-home mom. You're a stay-at-home mom. You're a stay-at-home mom. I'm like, every one of you are arguing on behalf of feminism right now, and you're all stay-at-home moms. And my wife is just mortified.
You are way more flexible than you look, because you put your foot right into your mouth so often.
I called my brother-in-law the next day and I was like, dude, I am so sorry. I didn't know that you said. He goes, Anthony, I'm so glad you said it.
Like, I'm so sorry, but I was right.
He goes, you were saying stuff that I wanted to say for so long, and you look like the bad guy, and I look like the hero for freaking defending them.
So I just want to know, how does this fit into the Christmas spirit?
Well, I think it's very clear that the spirit of Santa is not the same as the spirit of feminism, by the way I'm speaking.
Okay.
I would just say that in general, like, since like the Christmas spirit, a lot of it is involved with the concept of family. The only way to have a good family is a rightly ordered family. And I think the fact that like men are terrified to say anything and then they have to call Anthony and be like, yeah, thanks, bro, I appreciate it, is telling.
Well, yeah. If you have to call Anthony to stand up for you, I think.
Well, no, look, it's not stand up for them. There are boundaries you don't cross with your family, and you don't want to purposely offend them. So if somebody else happens to say the thing you've been thinking the whole time, it's like, all right,
bro, it's like we should make an ad. Like Anthony can come and offend your family for you. Just invite your
my god, that is a great idea.
That is great.
Honestly, Anthony,
that'll make a lot of money.
You'll be making
That's something you've always wanted to say. Have Anthony say it for you.
I enjoy offending people. So.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah.
Oh,
you just have to pay for travel.
Yeah.
Pay for travel and food. You're good to go.
You really should come to one of my family functions sometime, Anthony. That would be so funny. That'd be
Well,
hilarious.
How is everybody so Rob, how's your family functions regarding Christmas?
Well, there's going to be 60 of us.
Oh, wow.
Wow, that's a rare thing for your family,
That's
though.
crazy.
No,
Like you get that many people together like
it's
that?
rare for me to be involved in it.
Yeah. Oh, okay. They get together like that. They get
twice
together
a
like
year,
that?
usually Thanksgiving and
Okay.
Christmas. Yeah. So everyone was Catholic, or was baptized Catholic, but my little family and one of my cousins are the only real practicing Catholics still there. I mean, my grandma practices, but she believes very questionable things.
Yeah.
So really, there's only maybe a handful of us out of all 60 that still actually believe and practice. And, most of the stuff that real Catholics actually believe are kind of verboten subjects.
Yeah.
So it's always interesting. And I'll probably say something bad that'll say something.
I would say for Christmas, try not to, Rob. Like try to focus. Like we spoke to Jay Dyer. Like we could have been contentious, but you just choose to steer the conversation away from that stuff. It's 60 people together for a family is just me, my siblings, my parents, and our kids. So we just had that's just my family. There's 9 kids, and most of them have at least 3 each, if some of them more. So 60 people, in my family for Christmas, we'll go to my mom's for Christmas Eve, my wife's family for Christmas Day. There will be 30 kids running around, having a blast, playing with each other. And I don't care, even my family members that aren't practicing, my mother will still, everybody says grace before dinner. We all, they just understand there's a Catholic culture in my mother's home. So they'll do that. Then when we go to my in-laws' house, my wife's family, they always ask me to say grace because I'm like the only one that really practices this. They're like, "Oh, Anthony, can you say grace?" And I give them Catholic grace because if they do it, they ramble on and on and on and on.
Yes,
and on. I'm like, guys, can I do grace? Just let me do it.
I'll probably be asked to say grace, and I'm really thinking about memorizing the blessing before meals in Latin. Yeah. Nick's just like, mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, no,
That's a good idea. I might do that this year.
I memorized a lot of the long, chanted Benedictine Latin. So, if I get asked, I'm just gonna go full Benedictine mode.
You will go into your monk habits, but yes. So, but what does Christmas look like for you? Like the celebration with your family?
Yeah, mine's always interesting because I'm the only Catholic in my family. And so for the first few years, my family, it was always 2 issues that got kind of brought up. One, they didn't like the fact that I was going to Mass on Christmas Day because in their worldview, their Protestant churches don't even meet on Christmas Day. It's it's a day to hang out and for family and things like that, which again, it's so rooted in secular liberalism. It just divorces the rights of Christ the King from the meaning of the holiday. But second,
Protestants don't go to church on Christmas Day.
My version didn't. There's some that definitely do, but mine were
Baptists or what?
Low church evangelicals.
I was going to say most non-denom evangelicals, the churches aren't even open Christmas Day or even a couple days after usually because
we would shut down all the way till after the New Year. They would shut down if it was 2 Sundays. The
pastor's got to go on vacation, spend the money that you guys.
Well,
exactly.
The pastor has all his kids and stuff like that.
Exactly. And, so it was that, and then this is still an issue, but every year my family typically wants me to go to one of their Protestant Christmas Eve or Christmas Eve or something like that services, and every year I've told them, I love you guys to death, but I'm not going because that would be participation in a sin against the virtue of faith, against the first commandment. So I'm not going to. And so there's always been that tension, but there's always been also a lot of good things. So for instance, my family's always had a long tradition of reading the gospel story from St. Luke's gospel of the birth of Christ. It used to be a tradition that my grandfather did for a really long time, and now I do it. He's still with us, of course, but he kind of passed it on to me. So I'll show up with the Dewey Reams Bible, and I will.
Do they start with Luke 1?
Yeah, well, he used to just read the classic passage from Luke chapter 2, and that was pretty much it. But now what I've done is over the years, I have elongated it to where I've added context, I've added other sections from Gospels, but
You're
then
like
I'll
real loudly, Hail Mary, full of grace.
exactly. I'll always talk now about Mary's fiat. I always bring Our Lady into the situation. It's so funny because it's like my parents are slowly but surely becoming more and more Catholic. They're like,
Now this is Christmas morning. You do this?
This is Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve
Okay.
will do this. Yeah, Christmas
Do you
Eve. So,
do you give out green scapulars for Christmas?
yeah, exactly. No, I typically give out indulgences for Christmas and be like, remember these spots.
You can't give them out. You're supposed to sell them. Come on. What kind of Catholic are you?
We need to build a new church in Rome.
They probably wouldn't be that impressed anymore. They'd be like, yeah, we do one appeal on our TV station. Now we get more money than they ever got. So
You're like, Merry Christmas. Here's a statue to worship.
here's a statue to worship.
Oh,
Yeah, it's cool though, like seeing them slowly but surely, because then they'll actually start coming with me to like the Latin Mass on Christmas Day, which I think is actually pretty cool. So they're starting.
Yeah,
to
your parents are going to be Catholic.
I think they will. I think they will eventually.
They will be taken over. But yeah, no, that's awesome, and it sounds like you're really doing great work there with your celebration. Well, thank you all for coming on. So check out Avoiding Babylon. Check out Traditional Thomist. Nick, do you have anything coming up?
So the only thing I have coming up, so I just had a documentary come out called Salvation by the Light, which is a 2-hour documentary going over my it's more of a reflective style documentary, but my 30 days spent at Clear Creek Monastery in Oklahoma, where I read through the whole Summa cover to cover. And so it's kind of a reflection video, pretty well done. So I'm fairly proud of it. The only video I have coming out remaining of this year, is another one of my long mammoth projects, but I'm almost done with I think it's going to end up like 15 to 20 hour long refutations, like point by point refutation of the infamous John Salza Matt Frad video.
Oh, that'll be cool.
15 to 20 hours.
The problem with it is he makes like 500 plus unfounded claims, and I'm just the guy who has to address all of them. So it'll probably be released like in a joking manner, like 15 hours, but then I'm actually going to realistically like chop it up so people can actually
I think Michael Lofton will be on you then.
Well, if he is, let's let this game play. I'm ready to go. I'm ready just to be like, I have hair, you don't. I'm young, you're not.
Go after Lofton live. Go after Lofton on a live show, and you'll
call him gay, and he'll come after you.
It'll blow your channel up.
Okay.
Connor, what time are you airing this on Christmas?
I don't know, probably like noon, maybe.
Oh, okay. Oh, wait, never mind. All right. So if you guys see this on Christmas, that means tomorrow we have Anthony Stein and Matt Gaspers on. And then Thursday we have Father Dave Nix on, and we'll be reviewing Padre Pio Miracle Man.
And I really have to try to watch that movie before
the
drive home from work on the day of.
You have to.
I did find it unformed, 3.5 hours unformed. So that's where I'll watch it.
You can't watch while you're driving. You have to watch it with the subtitles.
Yeah,
you can't watch that movie dubbed.
You don't think I can read a movie while driving? What do you think I am, a woman?
You don't think Rob knows Italian?
I don't.
I can watch movies while I'm driving, but not.
Wait, Anthony, do you know Italian?
No,
no.
Okay.
He can't even pronounce it.
I can understand like if somebody speaks very slowly and says common phrases like
if you're feeling charitable, please like, share, comment, and subscribe if you want to get me a Christmas gift. And thank you all. Merry Christmas and God bless. Bye, everyone.